Good morning. I'm Rose again here from Grandma Rose's Open Pantry, and I was doing some things this morning. My husband's been in the garden since about 6 o'clock, and so I've got up and fixed our breakfast. And I had some apples. They're not. My granddaughter ate one yesterday. She said, "Ooh, Grandma, these are not good." So what I do when I get an apple that's not really good, I'll take it and I'll cut it. I'll quarter it and take the little core out. And this is honey that we get from our bees. My husband has a hive of bees out there, and we harvested this last year. And so I take my apples and I put just a very little bit of water in them, maybe a fourth of a cup, and I put them on like medium high, and I let them come to a boil, and I let them cook probably about 10 or 15 minutes. And then I also I put butter in them now, so probably a half a stick, maybe, but no, that's probably about 3 tablespoons of butter that I'll put in them. And I'll let them cook for about 10 or 15 minutes. And when they start getting tender, then I'll let the juice and the water kind of cook out, and then I'll drizzle about probably a fourth cup of honey over them. I can't have sugar. You can use brown sugar, you can use regular sugar, whatever you want to sweeten them with. But since I can't eat sugar, I do honey. I can have honey because it's a natural sweetener. It's not a processed sweetener. I don't do a lot of it, but I do some. So we're going to let those start cooking. And also this morning we've got squash that I got out of the garden yesterday. So what I do is I put squash in the freezer for my squash casseroles. Now, I don't like frozen squash for like your stewed squash or fried squash, anything like that. But I do like it for squash casseroles. So I just take the ends off, and this is my little compost can right here. And so I put all my ends in there, and I just slice it. Promise you want to come over here and show them about the size of these. I slice it about like this, and so I just slice them up, and I bring them. It's called blanching them. Well, in peas and butter beans, it's called blanching. I guess that's what you call it in squash too. So I just cut them up in little slices, and I'll put them in my pan, and I'll bring them to a boil. And I let them boil maybe 1 minute, maybe 2 minutes. Not very long at all, because if you let them cook longer than that, they're going to start tearing up. So I let them cook just enough to where they get hot all the way through. And then I let them cool, and I put them in freezer bags. And so I take them out of the freezer, I thaw them, and they're wonderful to make squash casseroles out of. So that's what I'm going to be doing here. This is a big one that I got yesterday. I'll save it for frying, because sometimes the seeds in it are a little bigger, and you don't want it. You don't want a bunch of seeds in your squash casserole. So I will fry this one. I will cut it and fry it like you saw me fry some yesterday. So I'm just going to continue to cut these, and I'll come back with you in a few minutes, and I'll show you. I just cover them with water, put them on medium high, let them come to a boil, then let them boil maybe 1 minute, turn them off, and then I will show you. I'll come back on when I get through with that, and show you how I cool them and put them in the bags. So we'll see you in a few minutes. Okay, I'm fixing to put water. I got all my squash cut up, and I'm going to cover them with water. And then I'm going to put them on the stove, and I'm going to let them, like I say, come to a boil and boil about a minute. And so when I get the water in this, I'm going to show you my apples and show you what they look like. And okay, so I cover them like this with water. And then I'm going to put them on the stove over here, and I'm going to put them on high because this is a small burner. I got my apples on large burner. This is my small burner. So promise if you'll come over here and I'll show them the apples. And that's just butter and water right now. And so I'm going to let them cook till they kind of get tender.
How many apples did you do?
This is about 5 apples. I only do like 4 or 5 at the time because my husband and I, we eat them with breakfast. We eat them with bacon and eggs. We eat them with our meals. And so, but it's going to take them about probably 10 or 15 minutes to get tender. So I'll take the lid off when they start getting tender, and I'll let some of that juice cook out. That's when I'll put my honey over them, and the butter and the honey will form kind of a caramel-like glaze. They are really, really good. So I'm going to put my lid back on, and I'm going to let them continue to cook, and I'll be back with you. Okay, as you can see, our squash have come to a rolling boil, and I'm fixing to take them, and I'm going to pour them through this colander right here. Now this is the same colander that my mama used when she was alive, and in this same kitchen. I live in the house that I was raised in. We moved here. My daddy built this house when I was 7 years old. And so me cooking in this kitchen is like, I've been doing it for 50 years. And I did it when Mama was alive. She taught me how to cook. And so it just brings back a lot of memories every year when I'm doing my canning, because I use some of the same utensils that she used. And so, but you just pour your squash in the colander. And as you can see, they still hold their shape. They're not all to pieces, and that's what you want, because when you take them out of the freezer, you want them to still have their shape. And if you cook them too long, they'll just go all to pieces. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit them over to the side here. I let them drain, and then I sit them over here. And I have an air conditioner vent right here. And so I'll let them cool. And when they cool, after they cool, I put them in freezer bags. And I always label what it is and the date. Always label your packages, your bags, whatever. And be sure and put the date on them. So when you start to get them out of the freezer, you can use the oldest ones first. You can use the oldest ones first, and then your food won't get too old in the freezer. Now, I want to show you the apples. They've been cooking for about 15 minutes. And this is what you want. You see there's nothing left in there. All the juice is cooked out. There's nothing left in there but butter. And they're tender. And you can get them, you can cook them as much as you want to, get them as tender as you want. But, so this is our honey. And what I do, that's probably two good tablespoons, maybe a quarter of a cup. And I just drizzle it over it. And when you harvest honey, it'll turn solid like this. And so, but that's the way honey does. And when this you buy in the grocery store, probably is not raw honey like this is. This came straight out of the hive. And so you just take and you just put it over your, and my finger's clean, by the way. I keep them washed. I keep a sink of water, soapy water with a little bleach in it. We used to own a restaurant back in the 80s and early 90s. And that's one thing our inspector made us do back then. I don't know how it is today. But we had to, in every sink of water that we drew, we had to put like a cap of bleach in our water, and I've always done that. I've done it ever since. So what I'll do, I'll let this sit here. I'll make sure that there's honey all over the apples, and I'll just let them sit and simmer for like probably 10 more minutes on really, really low. And then they'll be ready. And you can put cinnamon on them if you want to. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Cinnamon's really good for you, so that's just up to you. But, pardon, baby?
Put cinnamon.
Put cinnamon?
Awesome.
Okay, Promise wants me to put cinnamon, so I'm going to put cinnamon on these. All right, so I will take and I keep cinnamon in my little decorative jars here just because. And probably I'm putting a half a teaspoon in there. And I'll stir it up again a little bit and make sure I get cinnamon all over them. So, and I try to keep, Promise, if you'll get over in here, I try to keep the cut part of the apple down in the juice. And that way all of your juices can absorb up into the apples. And when I put them in the pan, they won't all go in where your cut side is down against the pan and in those juices. But as they cook, they kind of shrink. And by the time you get through, then you have all of your cut side of your apples are down in the juice. So I'm just gonna let them sit here for about 10 more minutes and just on real, real low and just sort of caramelize with that honey and butter. And so I'll be back with you in a little bit. Thank you. My squash is cool, and I just take it and I put it in my bags like this, the ones that I have labeled, and make sure they're well drained, and these are. And so this is a quart bag. I always freeze mine in quart bags, and that makes a really nice size casserole. And so I just put them in the bags like this. I'm just going to do one bag for you. I'm only going to have 2 bags. I only do like 2 or 3 bags at the time because I do them as the squash come in, and we don't have a whole bunch of squash, but we do have enough to freeze some. So
how filled
you start closing your bag, and then you press it down real good, and you get all that air out. And then I always flatten mine, so they'll lay flat in the freezer. And then I'm not going to show you how I put this one in the bag because I just did that one, but I do want to show you my apples, and I want to taste of them. And they are really, really good. They aren't really sweet because I didn't put any sugar on them. I didn't put anything but honey, and these were not sweet apples at all. So Promise, if you'll come over here and we'll show them. This is what you want. You want them to kind of be caramelized, and these are real caramelized.
Show it
but
how you can cut
but
them.
that's the way, and they just,
Okay.
I mean, they are just really tender, but they're not all to pieces. And that is so good. It's hot. You can really taste that honey, and you can taste the butter. That butter just, it just makes them. But now, these are Gala apples. I like cooking with Gala, Fuji, Granny Smith, Honeycrisp. Honeycrisp is delicious. But the Gala apples, I find for what I use them for, is works really, really well. It gets tender, but it doesn't cook all to pieces. And so this is very good. We use it like, we have our greens in the garden, turnips, mustard, collards, broccoli, which I'll be showing you on another video, broccoli that we get out of the garden. And that ends this video. I'm fixing to make a fruit salad, but I'm gonna post that on another day. It's made with fresh fruits, fresh strawberries out of our garden. So, but I'm gonna be posting that on another day. So thank you for watching. Y'all like and subscribe. Is that right, Brian? Y'all like and subscribe to my channel, and I sure would appreciate it.
And if you want to watch that video, just be
And if you want to watch the video on the fruit salad, it'll be posted on a later date. So y'all have a good day, and God bless you all.